Hi everyone, I'm Pranita and welcome to my kitchen. Today we are learning about pasta, the different kinds and how to make them. So let's get started. Before we get into talking about the ingredients for this dish, I want to talk about the types of pasta there are. These are some of the types that I have on hand and I wanted to go through them. This is whole grain and each one comes in a box like this and they have their own cooking instructions and timings. Basically, cooking pasta requires a huge pot of water. We use a huge pot of water because when you cook pasta in a small amount of water, it releases a lot of starch and it doesn't give enough room for pasta to boil nicely. So they end up stuck and very starchy. So now that that's there, these are different types of pasta that are used in different occasions. These are shell pasta, which are really great in holding sauce. So I use them to cook with tomato sauce or something like a little bit meatier flavor. And these are used classically for mac and cheese. And these are called linguine. This is a long pasta and there is also these are the ingredients you're going to need for this recipe. I have 4 large cloves of garlic. This makes the dish nice and garlicky and which is really amazing. And this is sun-dried tomatoes. These are just sun-dried tomatoes preserved in olive oil, and all the white spots that you see is that when I bought these tomatoes in a jar and when I put it in the refrigerator after opening, I've learned that olive oil solidifies like coconut oil or clarified butter. So that's the olive oil. And I'm going to chop these up. They are tangy. They are a lot like, they add a nice tang to the dish. And I love using them because it's a nice contrast to the crab ravioli that I'm using. But as I said, you can use any other pasta too. And this is olive oil. This is extra virgin olive oil. And one thing that I'm also using is crushed pepper. Crushed pepper is nothing but, you can do it at home. It's just mild peppers. You take mild chili peppers and put them in a food processor and just crush them. Just crush them for a while and you will end up with a beautiful crushed pepper on your own. I also have an ingredient that I'm going to use is a white wine. Yes, tomatoes. So these sun-dried tomatoes are optional. If you don't find it in your local grocery store, you can substitute it with a little bit of lemon juice because that also adds a nice tang. But since I have them on hand, I'm going to use this, and I recommend these two because they have a lot of flavor in them, and you can use them on pizzas or other pasta recipes or any sauces to add a nice exotic tomato flavor. And as I mentioned earlier, I'm using this crab ravioli. I'm not going to defrost it or anything since the packaging says I don't have to defrost it before boiling. So next thing to do is to boil the pasta, and they have written down that it needs to cook for 5 to 7 minutes. Since this is a stuffed pasta, we are not going to boil it vigorously. It needs to boil it gently. So I have brought a big pot of water to boil, which I'm going to add the salt and boil the pasta. Okay, so the water is up to a vigorous boil. Let's add the salt, 1.5 teaspoon. And now that these are frozen, it's going to reduce the temperature of the water and bring it to a little bit still boil. And since it's only for a couple of people, I'm just using 2 liters of water and just 1 packet of pasta. But if you're cooking for a big crowd, make sure you get a bigger bowl or cook in batches. So now that the temperature of my water has come down a little bit and I have reduced the heat, I'm going to just gently boil it and set the timer for 7 minutes and drain them out. Meanwhile, I have a frying pan sitting right here for me, and I'm going to start with the tempering for the pasta or sauce for the pasta. While handling with stuffed pasta like this, make sure you don't stir the water a lot. Just give it a gentle stir I'm using a colander, like a nice handy colander like this, so that I can use to fish the pasta out later. But right now it also helps me to gently stir it so that the pasta doesn't stick at the bottom, and at the same time it's not sticking to each other. So to check whether the pasta is done or not, all you need to do is just take one out and let it cool down a little bit, cut it and try it. Some people love boiling the pasta al dente. Al dente means when you cut into the pasta and eat it, it has a bite to it. And I like my pasta a little overboiled than al dente. That's personally my preference. So all you need to do is just take the pasta out into a dish and get started on the garlic and the sun-dried tomatoes mix. Okay, to get started on the sauce, let's add in a little bit of olive oil. And when you're dealing with white wine, just keep in mind that wine is highly flammable and you need to be careful with it around the flame. So on medium-low heat, just heat up your frying pan and add in all the ingredients. The garlic has enough time to cook. Make sure not to burn the garlic, and just give it a good stir. Again, when you're dealing with the stuffed pasta and even in the frying pan, you need to mix it gently. Okay, so now it's time to add the wine, and the garlic is nice and toasted and I don't want it to burn, so keep mixing it. It's on medium-low heat. So if you're dealing with a gas stove, please take the pan out a little bit far away from the gas stove. Don't let it catch on fire. Be careful. Since I'm using electric stove, I don't have to worry about that. The wine goes in and let it reduce slowly. Don't try to evaporate it quickly. And while the wine is cooking, you can add some herbs like chopped up parsley. I don't have fresh parsley, but I do have this dried parsley, which kind of softens up. You can soak it and add it, or just add it just like that. I love to add a little bit of parsley. Let the wine reduce completely. Reducing is just evaporating it and let it do its thing. So as you can see, there's tons of garlic, the pepper flakes, and the chopped up tomatoes, and the white wine and parsley. This is all I've added in olive oil, and I've been cooking and just slightly reducing it. Meanwhile, I love to serve pasta with garlic bread. So I'm also preparing some garlic bread and I've shown you guys. Use any type of pasta and wine with any type of pasta. Even in your tomato sauce, you can reduce the wine. As you can see, it's all evaporated. Mostly I can see the oil. And once that is done, since I cannot mix it vigorously after adding the pasta, I'm going to let it reduce a little bit. But if you're not using a stuffed pasta, you can definitely add the cooked pasta at this time. Let's add a pinch of salt too, just to flavor everything. Okay, looks good. Time to add the pasta. You don't have to add one at a time. I'm just trying to see if the pasta is stuck. If you have the problem of pasta getting stuck to one another after you take them out, just add a little bit of olive oil to it. That keeps it nice and flavorful at the same time by keeping it nice and unstuck. So just give it a stir. I needed the handle to hold it. Okay. It doesn't need to cook for a long time. All you just about 30 seconds to do it in the pan. Just make sure to coat every pasta, every inch of that pasta, and it looks beautiful. So I wanted to take this opportunity and also show you guys how to make some garlic bread. This is very quick and simple garlic bread. Here I have chopped up the bread into slices, and about 1 inch thick slices, but you can slice them a little bit thin. And I have a garlic clove, which I'm going to rub it on the sides. All you need to do is just rub it on the sides. If you're using other breads like ciabatta or other garlic breads, you can make the garlic paste and then just rub it over here and drizzle it with a little bit of olive oil. My oven is preheating at 400 degrees Fahrenheit, and I'm going to put it in for 3 minutes or until the edges are nice and brown. And there you go, you're good to go. As New Year is coming, if you're planning to cook for your loved ones, this is a great dish. And as I was saying, the garlic bread, it needs to be brown on the edges and it's nice and crispy. And if you are serving this dish for a large crowd, make sure you put out a lot of garlic bread so that the guests feel free to grab a few more, since garlic bread is awesome. And thanks for watching. You can find this recipe and many more at booklesscooking.com. Thank you.